Greetings folks, it's Matt from Hidden Machine here. This week we got a deeper look into FBC Firebreak, which is the next game from Remedy Entertainment. We don't have an exact release date yet, but we do know that the game is set to launch this summer on Steam, Epic Games Store, the Xboxes, and PS5. It's being described as a mid-priced title, and it will be available on day one through Game Pass on PC and the Xboxes, and on PS5 through the PlayStation Plus game catalog. Well, Remedy's last game, Alan Wake 2, definitely had some boundary-pushing requirements for PC players. This game is designed to be a lot more accessible in terms of minimum PC specs. The game is set to be Steam Deck compatible, and it will support crossplay and cross-platform matchmaking. I'll be going over a bunch of new information about the game, but first I'll give you a little background in case you're unfamiliar. This project was first announced in June of 2021, with a press release accompanied by this piece of concept art. Back then, the game was going by the codename Condor. Firebreak is one of two multiplayer games that were announced by Remedy back in 2021, the second being Vanguard, which was later renamed to Kestrel. Kestrel was originally going to be a free-to-play co-op shooter, but in November of 2023, it was announced that the project had shifted, and according to a press release, it was now going to be a, quote, premium game with a strong cooperative multiplayer component. That news came around 6 months after the unceremonious shutdown of Crossfire X, a free-to-play multiplayer shooter that Remedy created 2 standalone single-player campaigns for. There has been some speculation that seeing so many live service games like Crossfire X fail to find sustainability influenced Remedy's decision to move away from that model. Despite the shift in focus, Kestrel was eventually cancelled in May of 2024. However, the concept of a premium cooperative multiplayer game from Remedy is still being kept alive through FBC Firebreak. This is going to be Remedy's second foray into first-person shooters, following their work on the aforementioned Crossfire X campaigns. All issues with that game aside, personally speaking, I really enjoyed seeing Remedy take on a first-person shooter, and their proprietary Northlight engine handled the task very well. Northlight is also the engine powering Firebreak, and judging from this new gameplay trailer, I think things are looking pretty great. In the game, you play as a volunteer in the Firebreak Initiative, a team of FBC employees tasked with facing ongoing threats inside of the oldest house. There are some more lore and story bits to get to, but before touching on that, I'd like to give an overview of what we know about the gameplay. Firebreak is a co-op shooter. Players will work together in teams of 3 to work different jobs. Each job is set in a different part of the oldest house, and it will have its own set of objectives, enemies, status effects, and mechanics. We're told that we'll be visiting some familiar locations, but that we'll also see some new parts of the oldest house. When you select a job, you pick your loadout, which is called a crisis kit. Different loadouts include different types of primary and secondary weapons and are tailored toward different playstyles. It's been noted that if a player is downed in the middle of a job, they'll have the option to switch to a different crisis kit before respawning. There are also a number of research perks that players can apply. Perks are unlocked by spending experience points and cannot be purchased with real-world money. From what Remedy has stated so far, it seems that the only microtransactions in the game will be for cosmetic items that won't alter gameplay, and all playable content, like different types of jobs, will always be free. In addition to those research perks, players can utilize altered augments, which are altered items that the FBC has approved for use by the Firebreak Initiative. Once you select your job and your crisis kit, you then pick a threat level, which is basically a difficulty selection. Lastly, there is the clearance level, which determines the length of the job. Remedy wants people to be able to jump into the game very easily and to play how they want for as long as they want. In this newest round of press coverage, it's been stressed that there isn't going to be anything like daily login challenges or anything that might punish players for not regularly engaging with the game. There is a bit more information out there about the specific perks, weapons, jobs, enemies, and other aspects of the gameplay, and I'll link to a bunch of videos down below if you want to dig into that stuff. At the moment, it seems like we're getting a pretty limited preview of what's in store, and I expect another round of press coverage will come through in the next few weeks that will reveal more of the game. This latest round of coverage is mostly focused on a hands-off demo that showed off a job called Paper Chase. In this job, you and your team are tasked with destroying sticky notes, with the mission culminating in a boss battle against a gigantic sticky note monster. While this was a hands-off demo shown to the press, there have been some remote playtest sessions, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was at least one more playtest or some kind of public beta before launch. As far as I know, playtesters have been bound by an NDA that restricts them from sharing footage or impressions of their experiences. That's totally standard procedure for an in-development game like this, but I suspect we'll get some kind of hands-on reviews later this season. Now, if you're familiar with our channel, then you probably know that we're big nerds for Remedy lore. While I don't feel like I can make any kind of conclusive statement on this, I really get the impression that Firebreak is not going to put a heavy focus on narrative. I think that rather than directly progressing the story being told in the RCU, this game will do more world building and offer a wider perspective on how the FBC operates. That said, we have gotten a few really interesting bits of lore. The game has been confirmed to be taking place 6 years after the events of Control. This has become standard for Remedy games. They generally take place right around the time that they are released. At the end of Control, director Jesse Faden still has the oldest house under lockdown, due to the hiss not having been totally eradicated. In Alan Wake 2, there was some mention of an ongoing crisis at the oldest house, but now we have confirmation that the lockdown caused by the hiss has been in effect for the past 6 years. That means that FBC employees have not gone home in 6 years. That's a long time to leave your characters in such a brutal situation, but if Alan Wake can do 13 years in the dark place, then I guess the FBC can handle a 6-year lockdown. In response to these conditions, the Facility and Resource Deployment Services Division of the FBC has created the Firebreak Initiative, which is essentially an all-volunteer task force of expendable workers who attempt to keep these ongoing paranatural threats at bay. This initiative takes its name from the fire breaks within the oldest house, those large chasms that separate different sectors and work to keep any potential threats from spreading throughout the entire facility. 6 years into this lockdown, resources are being stretched thin, which is why there's a sort of DIY look to the armor, weapons, and tactics being employed by the Firebreak teams. Control 2 is still a few years away at this point, but knowing that the FBC has so far failed to contain the hiss, to me it feels likely that Jesse's battle with the hiss will continue into the events of Control 2. There's a lot of room to speculate on where things might go, but if we keep our eyes peeled, we might find a few more hints as we continue to learn more about FBC Firebreak. That's all I've got for now, but be sure to check out those links below if you want to see more coverage of the game. And if you like what we do here at Hidden Machine and you want to support the channel either through Patreon or a channel membership, there are links for that too. A big thank you to all of our current supporters, and We'll see you next time.